Hello and welcome. I am your host, the best podcast host in the universe, Steve Cully. I'd like to thank our sponsors at Procyon Partners. Procyon, one of the top 50 fastest growing companies in the nation. They specialize in employee benefits, wealth management, and retirement planning. President Sean Rabinowitz, proud supporter of our podcast network and everything we do. Green Street Trust International, owned and operated by Rennell Jump and UConn legendary men's basketball player Jake Voskuhl. They specialize in tax plans for businesses large or small. They will save you money or get you a big fat return on your taxes. To schedule your free strategic tax planning session today, go to www.greenstreettrust.com. Pete Finch and the Finch Law Firm is located in Bridgeport, Connecticut. If you've suffered any type of personal injury, slip and fall, car accident, your mother-in-law ran you over with her car, your wife got angry one night and decided to stab you, the Finch Firm is for you. Pete has won legal battles all across the state of Connecticut. He will go to war to get every dollar you deserve in compensation. You just have to remember, in a pinch, call Finch or go to his website, thefinchfirm.com. Dynamic Human Performance is owned and operated by UConn legendary running back Andre Dixon. He trains boys and girls of all ages, all sports. He has a boot camp program 7 days a week, 6 a.m. You want to get in shape, you go to Andre. He has an athletic development program where he trains boys and girls in the sport of their choice from the ground up, helps them reach their full potential, be the best they can possibly be. Andre has sent boys and girls to college on scholarship for all different types of sports. To work with the best, he has a 5,000 square foot state-of-the-art facility in Hartford, Connecticut. Go to www.dynamichumanperformance.com. All right, and here we are for Inspire Synergy. I'm your host, the best podcast host in the universe, Steve Cully. And with me, as always, the CEO of the House of Changes and real estate mogul, Razul Wallace. Razul.
Hey, what's going on, bro?
How's everything going at the house?
Good.
Yeah.
I'm excited to announce we're at full capacity right now.
Oh, you are. That's great.
We are.
When's the last time you were at full capacity?
I don't know, maybe the summer.
Oh, the summer. So that's big. That's really big.
Mm-hmm.
How recently did you add a new person?
Last person filled up about a week ago.
Okay. So when you really started the House of Changes, what problem did you think you were solving? And what problem do you think that you actually ended up solving?
Interesting question.
Yeah.
I think for me, I felt like it was an opportunity because when you see someone who's like homeless, right?
Sure.
You might give them a couple dollars, but then you feel like, damn, like you could do more, I guess.
Yeah.
So I think that it was an opportunity to feel like I could like structurally offer support to that group of people.
To contribute, yeah.
And it's not like a perfect solution because, they still got to have some type of income or some other type of support or something like that. But I feel like it's like a step.
Right.
And I think in my mind, I wanted it to be like like everything to be perfect, everyone to come out successful, and like us develop programming to kind of have no one left behind. But since then, shifted to just having to come to the realization that for each person, it's like they're ultimately the decision maker. Like we can't want it for them,
Exactly.
and that just doing our best to kind of offer an option.
Yeah,
Kind of
you support.
yeah, and then kind of doing our best to constantly address each situation as it comes. And I think because we're small, we kind of have that ability. Me and Marcus will kind of go back and forth on certain situations and trying to find the ideal balance between loving support and like accountability.
Yeah, yeah. No, that
So
makes sense.
yeah.
Where would you say? I mean, your mission. Because the mission of the House of Change is to help these men who are homeless, who have mental health or addiction issues, gets tested the hardest. Is it the relapse? Is it the money? Is it burnout from the staff that you have? I know it's just small, but is it conflicts with the people who live there?
I think it's probably overall it's their own personal demons because that's what kind of impacts everything.
Yeah, it's with the turnover you think that you've had.
So for each person, I think it's a personal challenge.
Right.
Whatever their personal challenges are, more so, right? Like people. People are people, right? Whether you have mental health, substance abuse challenges for all the men in the house, everyday people who are, quote unquote, functioning in society. Everyone has their own challenges from whatever experiences they had growing up that caused them to, be avoidant or easily triggered or, what I'm saying, wanna use or whatever the case may be. So I really think it's kind of personal to each guy. And
Right.
and like right now the house actually is like getting along really good. Like they're cooking together and having meals together and, communicating well. But there's one guy who just, for whatever reason, can't. He's almost like highly irritable and like quickly frustrated. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's probably tough living with other people. He doesn't like that. He doesn't have a lot of patience.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
I can see that. What would you say is the biggest misconception people have about sober houses that you wish would kind of go away and disappear?
I think people stigmatize
Yeah.
substance abuse,
Yeah.
incarceration, and mental health. I think there's a stigma that comes along with it that makes one of the things that because I have my own, challenges which I've spoken about before, and I think my challenges are a function of the experiences that I've had. You know what I mean? And if it
Sure.
was that easy to just quit, because people are creatures of habit. You do something every day, and you get used to living a certain way and do a certain thing. Even if you want to try and like change it, it can be really hard, especially if you're feeling like all this tension and pressure building up inside of you emotionally, and then this is the one thing that kind of gives you relief. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whatever that may
No, of
be,
course.
drugs, alcohol, sex, food, whatever it is. So to stigmatize people or make them feel like,
Yeah.
judge or piece of shit, I think that is one thing. And I, we're all human. I think we judge based on what we think is right or wrong, but that's I think what I would like to see go away.
And I mean, I think this is something you do really well. I mean, you always try to give guys chances. How do you balance the compassion that you have with consequences when somebody breaks the rules?
I think at least personally, I'll usually just err on the side of caution, right? Like I would rather give someone maybe one more chance than they deserve than
Right.
kick them out before they've actually had a chance to, you know what I'm saying? And I think we always talk about it's a continuous ongoing part of the conversation for me and markets and in the individual situations. And the one thing we always say is we can't win it more than they want it. And if it feels like that, that's usually like an indication that if it's starting to feel like we want it more than they want it, we might communicate that to them, give them one more chance, and then if they're still not doing what they got to do, or it feels like I think we will say, and then there's some hard lines, right? Like if someone's using in the house, we got like you got to go. You can go to your the PHP program or a deeper level of something beyond what we have the capacity for, and then you can come back once you've completed it. We've done that. We've offered it to a couple guys. One guy took advantage of it. One guy just went on and continued to do whatever he did.
Left.
We haven't really heard much about him since.
But that's the one thing. You technically don't partner with anyone. You have recommendations where people can go for PHP.
Yeah.
But there's no. Yeah. That's what we need to get you a direct partnership with them, so they can they'll be able to send you clients. You've been doing this now a year, and I know you're not an expert just yet, but where would you say sober houses fail most often? Because they're too strict or because they're too loose?
Probably too. I would say they probably fail more from being too loose than too strict.
Yeah.
At least from what I've seen. What do you think about that, Cody?
I've seen it where it's too strict, where not necessarily the sober house fails. It's just they lose people. The people fail. I mean, the sober house that I was in. I mean, there was always somebody else they had ready to go. So that's why it was just crazy. It was never not at capacity. So it just seemed like it was. I mean, they had some tolerance, but not much. Let's put it that way.
And where you guys self-pay, or did they have were they funded another way?
We were self-pay. It was based on your income. It was based on what you were making, how much you had to pay. But I mean, I don't think it was more than. It wasn't more than $500. There were some guys that paid $150. There were some guys that paid $200. I think $200 was the least amount that they would accept. But it was based off of that. But they all, I mean,
there's some kind of subsidy or something.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's why I think I've talked to people who say that you should be getting funding from the government per person, and that's something that I believe that we had in New Hampshire. They were getting paid on the people that they had in the house, which made the difference. Yeah. And then we also had a lot of the guys got SSI, so that helped as well. But yeah, that was the thing. That was the range with the pricing. But we really never had any issues with guys and payments. There was always ways that they got it done.
Yeah, I think, and then to your question,
I gotta. There's definitely. I mean, I've been trying to research it. There's definitely money available that you guys should be able to get for each person in the sober house. You should be getting paid a certain amount. From the people that I talked to in New Hampshire, the two places that I talked with, they get money from the county or the state for each person. That's what I need to find out for you guys.
There's different there's a basic needs program here that where they will offer funding for like the first 2 months, and in some cases 3 months of a resident moving in, and we've been on that wait list forever. I actually got to follow up with them because
Wow.
we've been waiting to get on, to be able to accept basic needs, and we get calls for it all the time. If we accepted basic needs, we probably stay full also, but that covers the full rent for basically 2 months for people to move in.
Yeah, and that would allow them to get a job and work and everything.
Yeah.
And get that taken care of. You've had situations where guys have relapsed. What would you say, because you are the owner, is the hardest relapse that you had to deal with emotionally or operationally? Emotionally, just being, maybe you and Marcus were connected to this person, and just operationally just being difficult to throw the guy out because you may know that he's not going into a very good situation.
I think the most challenging emotional part is kind of sticking to your guns when they're begging and pleading and assuring you how it would sound like they're good and they'll never and all that, and you're like, nah, you got to go to. And for us, like I said, we give them the choice, so we don't just kick them out.
No, you send them the detox, or you send them the PHP. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like, if you we're not kicking you out.
You got a place there.
Right. The rule we have is we'll hold the bed as long as nobody needs it. We've had that kind of
correct
vacancy. If someone comes and they need it, we'll give you an opportunity to pay to hold it. Even if you're not there.
Oh, that's true.
While you're doing it.
Wow, that's actually really good that you do that.
Yeah.
You even offer that.
So we try to work with them as much as we can, but ultimately they decide for themselves if they want to So I feel like we give them a lot of outs and opportunities.
I think you do too. I think you do the most. You do much more than other places to help your residents succeed, at least have a roof over their head. You give them, you want to work with them. You give them opportunities, and it's not just immediately, okay, you got to go. It's like, all right, you got to do detox. You got to go to PHP. You complete that, we can hold your room. We'll do something like that. You don't want to put people on the streets, which is different. And really, I would say your house culture has changed. But how do you protect that house culture if one person's behavior threatens everyone else's recovery? Because it may not threaten their recovery, but if you have a good house culture and you have one person who is challenging and difficult to deal with as far as that goes, how do you deal that? Because you don't want to upset the apple cart when everyone is getting along and doing well.
Right. That's a good question. I don't know that I figured out a good response to it. Right now, I think I try to.
Well, you guys talk to them. You try to.
No,
you try to include them and work with them and everything.
We had the last house meeting. I go because Marcus has weekly meetings now. I go to them probably monthly, and we had one gentleman who works during the day, so he didn't feel like getting up for the house meeting. So I went in his room and I woke him up. And I'm like, I can understand, being, that you want to sleep in the day, and and he was irritated because there was a leak in his room that, you know, the handyman had to go in and the handyman had to go in and
patch up.
Do the renovation in his room, and
Yeah.
he had to bother him like on a. And but the thing about it is, at the time we had other rooms that he could have used. We had like 4 rooms that were empty. He had a room
That he could have
himself,
switched over
but he didn't
to.
want to go into that room. Yeah, so I didn't really feel like that bad in that case because he had an option. He opted to stay there, and it was an inconvenience, but like we gave him another option. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
that's what,
of course.
like living in a house anywhere, like shit happens. Like that has to get rectified.
Absolutely.
But yeah, you know, he had a big like his whole thing attitude about that, and I was like, all right. And then another day, when we had our house meeting, he expressed frustration, and I felt like I did a good job of like validating and understanding why he was frustrated. But then, you know, the continued frustration it started to get to me, and I expressed that to him. I was like, look, I'm a man like you, and if this was like years ago, I'd have just told you to get the fuck out, you know, but we're all grown here. You have valid feelings, and, you know, what you're saying, but the fact of the matter is that I'm frustrated, you're frustrated, we gotta fucking take a deep breath.
Well,
You know,
what was his frustration? Like he's basically airing his grievances.
Well,
What was
he
his?
felt like because he works all night, he didn't have to. He can opt out of the house meeting, you know. Which,
But the house meeting is once a week, correct?
Once a week, correct.
Yeah, I mean it's not like it's every day. I mean, if you're
No, it's not.
If you were disrupting it every day, then I could understand that.
Yeah.
But
Right.
It's once a week. It's important.
Right.
And like that would be one of the things I would say is a non-negotiable. Like you got to go to the house meeting.
Yeah. Right.
Like that would get you kicked out anywhere.
Right. And if I'm being direct, I feel like he kind of uses it as an excuse. I don't think that's the time that he would normally be like sleeping or resting. You know what I mean?
Right.
I think it's like
he just don't want to go to the meeting.
Yeah.
So you have lasted now over a year, which is very, very impressive. How do you ensure your financial survival doesn't compromise with recovery? Because it's tough to balance both.
It is tough to balance them. It is.
And you've managed to do it for a year.
Yeah, I think the houses the expenses for the house are relatively low, and there's like a relatively low threshold to cover expenses. A lot of times, but that's part of the conversation, you know. Like this was a pain in the ass, but we need him to stay above water. At that point, it becomes we kind of weigh the pros and the cons. Like,
correct, right?
If they're manageable, then we might say, you know, we'll continue. If they're at that point, then hopefully, you know, we would just because there's definitely situations where, regardless of the financial situation, they just gotta go.
Yeah, I understand that. Know? Yes.
But most of the time, it's not like that extreme. So you just kind of like, you know, you're constantly like weighing it and having a conversation.
But it is
another thing too
really,
is if we have.
No, I was just gonna say it's really good that you're back at capacity again. Come back. Yeah, he was they were at capacity, which is good, which is challenging because they went so long without having it that way. I mean, they had 3 to 4 people in. Let's see if he can get back connected because he is in his car and he's coming. But no, I applaud the House of Changes and everything that they do, and they're going to do a fundraiser sometime in April, May, around then, and see how it goes. It's important because they don't get the funding that they would normally need from the state. So that is why. All right, let's see if we got him now. There he is. Okay.
My bad, Kelly.
No, you're good. I know you're driving. So, you've made it basically work financially, and have you thought about? Have you been able to add staff, because you have Marcus in the house? We talked about doing like a case management, something like that, and we're trying to get you partners as well, because you mentioned workplace development and other things like that. Is there a plan in the future to add a little more staff?
I think,
or you're not at that point?
Right now, what I'm trying to do is, well, first create like financial stability with the house. So I'm not there yet. I would like to create some more programming.
Yes, resources. Yes, programs.
And so we got this more experience. Can you see me?
No. If you had a call or something that sometimes happens, it's okay.
Sorry, give me. Yeah, my son was calling me. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hello?
Give me.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'll run the ad quick, and then if you want to answer your son's call, you can go ahead. Down south, we have Julius Williams and the Trench Mob, located in Decatur, Georgia. They train offensive and defensive linemen. They compete in 5v5 tournaments and college showcase camps across the country. They have sent kids to schools like Florida State, Miami, Clemson, Tennessee, Georgia, Alabama, just to name a few. If you want to be trained by the best, you work with the Trench Mob. Julius has a virtual program. He can train you anywhere in the country, and they will make sure they have the highest percentage of kids that go Division I. Go to their website, trenchmobfootball.com, and sign up now. Ned Von Young owns Freshfold Laundry Company, located in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. High-end laundry service. You book online. You put your laundry out in a clear plastic bag. They pick it up, wash, dry, fold it for you in 48 hours. They have an expedited service that can do it faster. They also offer an online subscription model, weekly or bi-weekly, so you can have your laundry done that way whenever you want. They have deals for college students as well, so make sure to check out their website. It is my-freshfoldlaundry.com. All right, and we are back. And just so you know, I got the website wrong for Nedvon. It is myfreshfold.com. So I have recorded it like 8 times and I get it wrong every time. So Razul, basically, what is broken, would you say, in the sober living industry overall that nobody really wants to admit or address? If you could put your finger on one thing.
I mean, if I had to say one thing, like, I don't think it's necessarily that system that's broken. Because by a function of what it is, the pay is kind of, you're not gonna be wealthy working in that in case management or social services. The people working in it are really just mostly like bleeding hearts or people that
they want to make a difference. Absolutely.
Right? I think what is really broken is our financial system that causes people to have to live in poverty, because poverty is one of the most significant indicators of poverty and trauma are two, and then so trauma is perpetuated through poverty and ignorance, right? All the things that make trauma, like it's like a cycle. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Trauma perpetuates more substance abuse, mental health, incarceration, which causes more trauma, which causes more people to continue to need those things. Whereas and our economic system is designed, like literally designed, to continuously take more and more of our time.
Well, it profits off of it.
After year.
Yeah.
Right.
It's designed to profit off it. Yeah.
Well, it happens from society. One society after society, it keeps happening historically. They have a central bank. They print money. Inflation slowly erodes the lifestyle of citizens of that community, and then eventually it gets to the point where their standard of living is so low that the people have to like fight, revolt. There's a revolution,
right?
And then they kind of have a reset. And I kind of feel like we're probably not too far from that here, but it's the underlying economic system. Like when you look at tribal communities, indigenous communities, like there's no hunger or crime or like in what the standard of living is very subjective, right? We'll call them savages or uncivilized, but are we civilized when we have people like starving and hungry because some people can have a real nice fancy house and car and all these gadgets that don't do anything to improve quality of life really, but just are more things to like distract us? Like those people have like genuine connection, joy, and happiness in life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're quick to kind of dismiss it as uncivilized and kind of have an air of superiority or better than because people don't have a tablet or an iPhone or you know what I'm saying? It's just the priorities to me are off. I think it's a function of our system.
It's funny you say that because I was talking with Erica Higgins and she said the same thing. She said it's the technology with the iPhones, with the computer and everything, the tablets, and people spend way too much time on them. And every 2 seconds, they're checking their phone and you lose that interpersonal communication with others. And like you said, the affordable housing just isn't there. And the show I do with our good friend Rob Hill, Rob talks about there's no such thing as inflation. We are just printing more money and lowering the value of our dollar. It's not going up. Prices aren't going up. He said the value of the dollar is going down.
Well, yeah.
That's how he sees it.
To me, that's what inflation is. But I guess he was trying to explain it in a different way.
Well, no, he seriously, he does not believe in inflation. He believes that the value of the dollar is down. Prices aren't.
No, he's right. Prices aren't up. The value of the dollar keeps dropping. But that is what inflation is.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Yes, that's what he believes, that as opposed to prices are rising. But it was funny just the way he was talking about it. And yeah, you're 100% right about those things. If you could basically change one rule or standard in the entire industry, what do you think it would be?
So for me, one of the things, because in the for-profit side, I focus in like rental housing, right?
Yeah.
And I'm getting into development and affordable housing. And one of the things that I think a lot of municipalities are recognizing is how significantly like zoning and regulation impact of the affordability of housing, right? Because if, for example, some of the ways that we have historically tried to make housing affordable
Yeah.
are like counterintuitive, right? Like when you
Right.
limit the ability of, investors, builders, developers to have a free market basically and charge whatever rent the market offers, and then you de-incentivize them from coming in and creating more affordable housing. And by doing that, you just perpetuate that problem of there not being enough supply, and then supply demand causes the cost to go up. But if you make it easier, and I'm not saying make it unsafe or anything like that, but there's a lot of regulations that are, like for example, one regulation has to do, there's regulation around how many parking spaces per unit, or there has been, and it seems like they're lightening up a little bit because they're like, who cares about parking spaces if people don't have a place to live? You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
So there's different things, like in Norwich, they just passed some new zoning regulations that make it it simplifies it significantly and makes it much clearer, so that if you were to build affordable housing, it's much clearer. It's basically easier. There's a lot less complications or conflicting rules or ideas. Even, I've dealt with zoning quite a bit, and I felt a sigh of relief from the people that worked here with the new regulations that are in place, because now they're like, it's so clear, it's simple. Like they feel like they seem almost relieved. Like it'll be easier for them to do their jobs, because in the past, someone would come in and ask them a question, they'd be like, well, they'd be kind of like uncertain answers, because there are rules that kind of conflict with other rules, and they don't want to speak too much because they've gotten in trouble or had people pissed off at them because they told them one thing, but then this other rule says something else. So having clarity and simplicity in zoning, and the reason I bring that up is because if people can afford to live, it's just homelessness it doesn't necessarily go away, but if there's more affordable units, it decreases.
Exactly.
And then for me, from my perspective, having stability in your life as far as where you live,
Very much so.
where you eat, sleep, if you can lower the stress and the fight or flight, and people have the ability to breathe and feel comfortable, they can start to kind of undo some of the challenges and things that cause them to be, have the amount of stress to trigger someone who otherwise would have been, mentally healthy, to now cross over that line into some type of diagnosis or depression or whatever the case may be, because they have a level of stability. And to me, it's kind of, I think it's simple, not easy. It's simple, but it's not easy.
All right, let me play my last sponsor and then we'll finish up. Finally, we have James Whitfield of Luther James Insurance. For the last 3 years, James has dedicated himself to the art of financial services. He specializes in life insurance and insurance policies. He will save you money, make you a boatload of money, and do so tax-free. He also specializes in retirement planning because we know the stress that goes into thinking about retirement. How much am I going to need? For how long? Do we have enough? Because fear of the unknown is real. To contact James, go to www.lutherjamesinsurance.com. So, Razul, how would you say running a sober house has changed you personally?
That's a good question. I think it.
I can answer it for you. You're much more. You have much more awareness. You have much more self-awareness, and I think you have a lot more compassion and realization of the struggle that addiction provides. Like, you know, I've told you, you know, when you've tried to bring guys in right out of detox, like that's going to be tough. That's going to be hard to for them to succeed because they need more time sober before they can come in to your environment, work, and be able to maintain their sobriety. But I think you've done a better job at having awareness of the people that you're bringing in, and you know how you deal with them. As far as you're not immediately throwing them out, you're coming up with solutions for, okay, this needs to be fixed. You need to get this done, and you have a spot here. And having that compassion, a lot of places do not do that. So that would be my answer. And I think that you have. I definitely think you have grown and have more empathy for people. Not that you didn't before, but you're more empathetic now. But that would be what I think. And then, you know, is there anything that I know you have anxiety and I know you have a lot on your plate. What keeps you up at night about doing this work specifically?
Very directly, it takes up way more time than I
wanted to do
when I started. Way more.
No, as I know you think that you just put the house up and it's done and you'll be good. You'll make some money and you won't have any issues. But yeah, it takes time. It takes effort. I mean, you really have to be invested in the people of the house. And you know, have you ever questioned yourself whether you can keep doing this long term? Does that ever cross your mind? Because you know, it is. I've asked a lot of good questions today because I prepared myself. How about that? I never prepare myself.
I would say that I have thought about it, but I think when I think about it, I think it's really more a matter of building out the structure of it so that it kind of can run itself.
Right.
That's the ultimate goal. Sometimes I wonder if I have the endurance to make it to that point. But that's how I'm thinking about it.
I don't think you're far off. I don't think you're far off.
Okay.
I think you're right there.
Okay. I appreciate it.
All right. I'm going to give you to finish off just a rapid fire. You can give me 1 or 2 word answers for this.
All right.
One rule that you'll never compromise on regarding the house.
One rule. I mean, no drugs in the house.
Yeah, no drugs. Absolutely. That's that's a non-starter right there.
Yeah.
And we already kind of talked about this, but the biggest myth about sober living.
The biggest myth about sober living. I think
Yeah, you said it before. I mean, the people are stigmatized. I mean,
they're stigmatized.
and they're not. They're
Yeah,
real people.
and there's a wide range of kind of skills,
Yeah.
capacity that the guys have.
Yeah. What would you say is the hardest conversation you have weekly with either with the men in the house or with Marcus?
A weekly conversation.
Because you have weekly meetings, or
Right.
is there a difficult conversation that you have with the men in the house, or that you have to talk to Marcus about that stands out?
Difficult conversation. None that stands out weekly. Because of what we're doing.
Or just one in general that you've had over the course of the year, a tough conversation that stands up.
I think it's tough. I'll put it like this: it's not more so a conversation. It's when I get a call like late at night. It's the thing that is most.
Those are always the worst.
Because I'm like, this is nothing good,
Yeah, I know, because they always got to call you. They always got to let you know. What would you say is the most underrated part of recovery?
The most underrated part, I think, is the need for kind of emotional awareness.
Huge. That is 100% huge. The need for emotional awareness, the need for, having that support system, having those resources, having people like you and Marcus in their lives, because you have a lot of people there who, have burned bridges and don't have a ton of people that care about them. So I think that is big. And then, finally, what would you say success looks like for guys after 90 days?
After 90 days of sobriety?
Or being in the house. Yeah, being in the house. Yeah. They're working, they're getting along with everyone.
Yeah, I think finding a rhythm, in a house with, because usually if you're coming there, they probably had some type of chaos or uncertainty or instability going on,
Yeah, for sure.
So I think, I think that.
And then I hope that you're able to expand. I hope that you do find another property and can get a woman's house going. And then, when this project takes off, having an opportunity for the men to graduate from the program and be able to own property or rent property with what you're doing in Norwich. I think you have a great plan in place to really have a playbook for these guys to go through.
Yeah.
So, but great job, great answers, and I'm glad that you're at capacity. I'm glad that everything's doing well. I will connect with you next week. I definitely want to talk with Ashley, and we're gonna definitely work on getting some sponsors for you, because we should be able to get you some sponsors, and your show is doing great. So you be well. Razul Wallace, CEO of the House of Changes, real estate mogul. Norwich, Connecticut. I'm Steve Cully, the best podcast host in the universe. Remember, when life gives you lemons, don't make lemonade. Take 2 oranges, throw them right back at life.